It's time to lock in my third Liverpool midfielder and Crystal Palace player, as it looks like I am taking a -4 going into double game week 34. Really looking forward to showing you guys my team. As always, make sure you drop a like on the video, aim for 200, and of course, make sure you do smash that subscribe button. Enough waffling. Let's get into today's video. Okay, so a little bit of context if you haven't checked out my previous videos. Here is how my team is looking currently going into game week 34. 2 free transfers available, and as you can see, a severe lack of Crystal Palace, and I haven't got a third Liverpool player confirmed. So with my team right now, I can firstly confirm that Son will be leaving my team. I'm wildcarding in game week 35. I've built up too much value in Cole Palmer, so even though I won't necessarily start Cole Palmer, he needs to stay in the team. Just I know I want him for game week 35, and I don't want to lose out on that value. Son, on the other hand, even though I want him in a game week 35 wildcard, I haven't built up enough funds in him to really justify keeping him. So Son is going guaranteed for a Crystal Palace midfielder. I will reveal which one in a minute. The rest of the team looks okay, however. Question marks over the game time of Garnacho after going off early in the game week 33 game, and we revealed that it wasn't due to injury, so I have a slight concern whether he is out of favour. And Zabanye is currently starting with what is described as a terrible double game week from a defensive perspective. So with this team, there's a couple of directions that I can go, but what is definite, a Crystal Palace midfielder is coming in replace of Son. Then I need to ask myself, what direction do I take the Liverpool third spot? I can go defensively with the likes of Alisson or Trent, or I can explore the midfield area and get rid of somebody like Garnacho and bring in a Luis Diaz or maybe even a Diogo Jota. So we're going to touch on those Liverpool players now. But as you can see on my team, a -4 looks like it could be on the cards in order for me to get that third Liverpool player, a Crystal Palace midfielder, and maybe one more differential. So as an FPL manager that is currently looking for a third Liverpool player, the Thursday night game against Atlanta was really important to get an understanding of which players might actually play in both games in the double. Now, a reminder, I currently have Mo Salah and Darwin Núñez, and I can't lie, I am not really that big on the Liverpool attack right now. Anybody that's watched Mo Salah will know that he just really hasn't been at the races, and Darwin Núñez is just quite arguably the most frustrating FPL option in the history of the game, and I just have no real confidence whatsoever that he is going to start both games and get decent minutes. And take a look at the lineup from the Thursday night game. We can see, a reminder, Liverpool had to turn over a 3-0 deficit. They went for Diaz, Gakpo and Mo Salah as the front three. Now, you could create your narrative here. One would argue that maybe Gakpo is coming in to rest Darwin Núñez because he started loads of games. But equally, they're trying to win a game here, try and overcome 3-0 down, and Gakpo started. Is Gakpo actually part of the best 11? Because you'd argue the rest of the team is Liverpool's best 11. So I don't know the answer to that right now. I think Darwin Núñez actually coming on later on in the game does suggest that he will get some decent minutes at least away against Fulham. But when I'm looking at actually buying a third player, it is so difficult to actually get an understanding of which player to go to. So, for example, you can see here that players got substituted. Robertson came off really late in the game, it's worth noting. Luis Diaz came off on the 66th minute for Diogo Jota. So again, really good that Diogo Jota is getting some minutes in his legs. He is coming back from a big injury. Diaz, on the other hand, another early substitution makes me think that Diaz actually as a free transfer is not the direction that I want to go right now. I think his minutes are risky, and if I was to go for a player, I feel like Diaz and Jota could get equal minutes. And why don't I just go for the one that is lowly owned at this part of the season, where if he was to haul in, I would argue Jota is just a general better FPL option than Luis Diaz. Then the potential for actually climbing ranks is there with Diogo Jota. So Jota came on for the last half an hour. I think he's good for minutes over this double, but I wouldn't expect more than necessarily 120. But I would argue all of these attackers are in the 120 mark. Mo Salah went off on the 66th minute for Darwin Núñez. Again, create your own narrative, what you will with that. The other one that we need to look at is, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Going off on the 72nd minute, decent minutes. I expect him with the injury to Conor Bradley to be playing for Liverpool in both games, or at least get some decent minutes. I think he's the real high upside pick if you want to go there. And of course, the other one is Robertson, who went off late in the 79th minute. And again, I think his minutes are pretty locked in for the double. So based on this, and what I'm going to do is put up the fixture schedule for Liverpool to get a bit of an understanding. They have got Sunday against Fulham, and remember, they played on Thursday. Then they play on Wednesday against Everton, and then they play on Saturday against West Ham. So they have got 3 games in 6 days, which is not ideal at all for them. So my only worry about going for a Liverpool third player, and I definitely will be buying one, is Diaz is probably the highly owned pick to go for, but I just don't think his minutes are as locked in as we once thought. I think Diogo Jota is the real high upside pick from an attacking perspective. And if I was to buy one, it will definitely be him. I think I'll just take the risk and hope that he gets the minutes. If I was going for a defensive coverage, I think Trent is the route to go, just again for high risk, high reward. But maybe Alisson, as a guy who owns only a single game week player, maybe Alisson is just the route to go for. It covers off the Liverpool clean sheet potential if it is there. And he sometimes can be good for bonus points as an FPL option. So lots to ponder right now, but for me, Jota is just worth the risk. We take the punt, and at this point in the season, if he only gets 90 minutes, he gets 90 minutes, with the assumption that all of these players are going to get rotated. So as I previously mentioned, outside of a Liverpool third player, I'm definitely invested in a Crystal Palace midfielder, if not 2. Olise and Eze, of course, are the 2 that we're discussing right now in the community. Now, we're looking at the underlying numbers here based on per 90 minutes, and it's worth noting Eze has basically played double the league minutes of Olise. But as you can see, if you were to tell me right now that both of these are going to play 180 minutes over the double game week, Olise is your man. Look at the underlying numbers right now. Goals per 90 is in Olise's favour, but we would argue he is slightly overperforming when we look at the XG, very close between the 2. The big factor that we need to remember is Eze is the penalty taker in this team, and importantly, on a lot of set pieces. But Olise also does share that. So I don't think Eze is just clearly the set piece taker. I do think Olise will also take corners on the other side. And with the fixture here, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, I'm not necessarily saying Crystal Palace are going to win both of these games, but I think from a defensive perspective, considering West Ham played midweek against Bayern Leverkusen, I think this is a great opportunity for Crystal Palace to actually score some goals. And I think having an investment, at least one of these, is the right way to go. For me, Mateta just isn't on the cards unless we get an idea that Haaland is actually ruled out for the weekend. Then I maybe would consider Haaland to Mateta. But for my own personal team, Mateta just isn't an option if he is past fit. Now, based on these 2, I do think Olise is actually the better pick, but I would only go for him if I was having him alongside Eze. I just can't see a world where I would pick Olise over Eze as my one Crystal Palace midfielder. So, to conclude, Eze, I think, is the way to go if you're just looking to invest in one Crystal Palace midfielder. However, I think going for both is actually a brilliant differential move. Both are still really lowly owned going into this week. Yes, they will go higher because of the free hit teams, but I actually do think Eze plus Olise could actually be the route to go for, and something I'm considering for a -4. So taking a look at my team going into game week 34, and it's worth noting this is one of 2 teams. I'm going to show you the second team in a minute, but there's a reason behind it. So first and foremost, Son to Eze is just absolutely locked in. Unless we get news that maybe Eze is ruled out for some reason, I'm not putting rumours out there, I will make that move because he is my number 1 Crystal Palace midfielder choice, and I don't see a world where I don't want a Crystal Palace midfielder. So Son to Eze is locked in, but remember I have one other transfer available. Now, keen-eyed viewers will see that I've actually made 3 transfers in this team, and to be honest with you, a -4 I am 90% sure I'm going to make because sometimes I need to take slight risks in the game. And with the players that I currently have in the team, remember, a single game week goalkeeper in Dubravka Areola, so that isn't really great. I've got someone like Garnacho currently started, who is actually a minutes risk because of what happened in the previous game. So even though it's Sheffield United at home, I don't have any guarantees he actually plays in that game. And then we got Cole Palmer, who I think is an unbelievable option, but playing against probably arguably the best defence in the league. They're going to be looking to get their campaign back on track. I think Palmer could do well, but I don't love the fixture. And we got the single game weeker in Erling Haaland. So Son to Eze locked in. The combination that I have right now is doing the goalkeeper transfer of Dubravka to Alisson, get myself that Liverpool coverage. Because of the defence that I currently own, Zabanije could easily go to the bench and I could do Rico Lewis to Trent. That's definitely an option for my team, and I do think it probably offers more higher risk, higher reward than Alisson, for example. But I will then be benching, for example, a double game week player in Zabanije, and even though the fixtures aren't great, I just don't love the idea of doing that. Alisson at least gives me guaranteed game time in that double, and it will cover off any potential Liverpool clean sheet over that period. So right now, Dubravka to Alisson is on the cards, and then taking a -4 to sell Garnacho to Olise. Now, I don't love it because Garnacho could easily play 90 minutes against Sheffield United, and Olise may only play 90 minutes in this double game week, and all of a sudden, the -4 is absolutely woeful. But I like the upside that Olise does offer. I know his ownership would be quite big in free hit teams, but I know a lot of people won't be able to get there with their free transfers. And for that very reason, I really do like going down this route. Now, the reason why I have two teams is because obviously going for a third Liverpool player and having Alisson as that third player doesn't really sound exciting. So there is another team, another combination that I'm debating right now, and I really do need your help in the comments which one you prefer. Now here on your screens you can see the other team that I'm currently debating. Son to Eze once again is locked in. That is not changing my mind at all. But we have a slightly different goalkeeper. We have gone for Henderson with that double game week. I don't love Crystal Palace defensively, but equally with West Ham playing midweek, Newcastle are a great attacking outfit. But Crystal Palace, they could be good for maybe one clean sheet. If they're not, I think the save points are definitely on the cards for Henderson. But as you can see, the big deliberation is basically going for Liverpool goalkeeper, Crystal Palace midfielder, or Crystal Palace goalkeeper, Liverpool midfielder. Now, I would argue that both Jota and Olise are both minutes risks. They could play very similar minutes. Jota in particular, with all the firepower that Liverpool have, I wouldn't be surprised if he was to start the Fulham game and then be benched in the Everton game. But I just feel right now, in the position that Liverpool are in the league, they need that calming head in the final third. And I think Diogo Jota does give that from a clinical finishing perspective. I think all the three others, I think Gakpo offers a little bit of composure, but Darwin, Diaz, Salah just offer erratic volume stat padding. Jota is one of those that only needs 2 chances really to bury him. So if I was to go for one, I know Luis Diaz is probably safer for minutes, but from my position, I want to chase, I want to get myself in the top 10k. It would be Diogo Jota if I was to go there, because remember, I am wildcarding in game week 35. And the more I look at this team, the more I do actually get a bit more excited by it. I think Alisson, of course, is the safer pick, but I'm not actually that confident Liverpool keep clean sheets. I think Fulham are good offensively, and they feel like they're getting up in the big games. They don't really care about the games that don't mean anything. So I think they could actually concede in that game. And the Merseyside derby is just the Merseyside derby. Anything can happen in that. So as of right now, I actually feel more compelled to take a -4 and go down this direction. Take the punt on Jota and go for Henderson as coverage. But equally, if we see anything in the news where maybe Jota's carrying something, I would be more than happy to go to Olise. So I'm leaning more towards this team. But of course, I will be doing a live stream tonight and on Saturday morning going up until the deadline. So make sure you are subscribed, as I will reveal exactly which team I'm going towards. And could I even be tempted by Trent? Probably not, but who knows between now and then. Now, in terms of captaincy, you can see here I've got it on Salah, but let's be real. Salah's been coming off early in a lot of games recently. He is not at the heights that we have seen. And 2 away games, I just don't really like it from a Mo Salah perspective. I think Robinson is a brilliant defender for Fulham. I think he could have a tough game against him. Salah having a tough game against Robinson. So we could have another early substitution appearance there. And Everton is going to be a tough place to go for Liverpool because they are fighting for their lives down there. So the more I look at this, the more I think I would never take the risk on putting the captaincy on Diogo Jota, but maybe Eze is the route to go for. If I'm going to bring him into the team, maybe putting the captaincy on him with guaranteed minutes on penalties and great fixtures is the route to go for. It's something to ponder. I think always the safe pick is just go Mo Salah, and we just think he is the player that he once was. But if we are getting slight concerns about his minutes, I think the captaincy on Eze right now is actually a brilliant move. And also, Bukayo Saka, not really getting talked about enough, but he will play both games on penalties. Arsenal need to bounce back. So it's currently on Salah, but the more I think about it, and at the rank I'm currently at, I'm not really going to get anywhere if I go for Mo Salah. So I am very tempted to maybe go for a rogue captaincy on Saka or Eze. Let me know who your captain is in the comments. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's team selection video. As I previously mentioned, I am trying to squeeze in a live stream tonight where it'll basically just be a Q&A and also some more team discussion. So make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with that. But I definitely will be back tomorrow with a deadline live stream around lunchtime. So make sure, again, if you want your questions answered, get onto that live stream. Make sure to drop a like, smash the subscribe button, questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.